Tim Sheridan and Clayton Henry get serious with Billy Batson as a crisis-level event shifts the Rock of Eternity to hell, causing Billy's powers to become unpredictable, frustrating the boy who learns one of his best friends will soon die if he cannot access his powers in time. Tim Sheridan taps into the stuff he did with Shazam in Future State to help set up a new premise for the hero to deal with, growing up. The issue makes it very clear that Billy doesn't want to grow up and wants to stay a boy or young forever, which thanks to life cannot and will not happen, since as Nightwing puts it, everyone has to grow up. I enjoyed Tim playing with the dual identity Billy has, with many viewing Shazam as the quote-unquote real one, and the effects that has on Billy and how he's wrestling with this idea of what is his real life and what Billy Batson's life is. It's an interesting concept to put on for the character, and something with a little more weight than just another volume of him and his family kind of exploring a fairy tale land or going on a kind of fun kid adventure. In any other situation as well, I would probably criticize Tim for turning Billy into an impatient jerk, which he is very much this issue. But in the context of the story and what's happening with his powers, as well as what he learns about his best friend Freddie Freeman and his possible death, you can understand why he would be like this. He wants to help his friend, that's all he has in mind, and he'll do anything to do that, and the heroes are all cutting him out of everything to do with the Rock of Eternity, so I could see that frustration Billy has bubbling to the surface, and he'll look to anyone for help, and that someone ends up being Dane, a mysterious magical user who seems to have everything Billy needs for his mission. Given the story's connection with Future State and how the Rock of Eternity is in hell, I wouldn't be shocked to learn if Dane is revealed to be Neron, the immortal demon who Shazam fought in the Future State book, and the one who sort of affected his eyesight and made him go kind of crazy. All the signs kind of point to that, so it might not be, because it might be a bit too obvious, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Tim Sheridan has in store for us now that the hero is in hell. Clayton Henry joins the book as artist, and he doesn't miss a beat, delivering to us some fantastic looking action set pieces of Shazam saving the day early on in the book, and technically even the first appearance of Jonathan Kent's Superman, who gets a big double page spread covered in beautiful bright colours by his colorist Marcelo Maiolo. Shazam issue 1 was a pretty great beginning to Billy Batson's newest adventure, Growing Up. An adventure I'm sure that will rub certain people a wrong way, but Tim Sheridan builds it into an interesting story premise involving the magical forces of the DC universe, and an adventure that will cover many different magical realms. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. Shazam issue 1 sees the Titans battling Chemo above the Statue of Liberty as Roundhouse evacs the people below onto ferries. Starfire reminds the team not to breach the containment suit of the villain, otherwise it will pollute the bay, but Donna knows that there are worse things in the Hudson already. Starfire doesn't remember Chemo being this strong as Nightwing calls in backup, but Donna says it's already on the way as Shazam speeds towards Chemo, picking up the villain as Beast Boy hopes that he doesn't say some cornball quip. Shazam, however, thinks up several cornball lines, while suddenly Billy sees an explosion in his mind as the Rock of Eternity explodes, which causes him to be knocked out. Donna races to save the falling hero as Raven teleports Chemo away to prison. Later at the Titans Tower, Nightwing comes to see Billy, asking him what happened with his power, but Billy says he's just fine and he lost it, and it's been happening more and more lately, not knowing why. Dick knows that at least no one was hurt, but Billy knows today no one was hurt, but what about next time? He says that when he is Shazam, it gets harder and harder to remember what it feels like to be Billy Batson, and normally he just says the magic word and it brings him back to himself. But now it's like each ability turns itself on and off at random and he doesn't know why. He thinks about what if he gets stuck as an adult and can't go back to being a kid. Nightwing says that that's what growing up is, and sooner or later they all need to do it. Dane and Raven meanwhile continue training, with Raven telling her star pupil to focus his energy and let it surround him like a cocoon. raccoon. Billy soon interrupts their training, apologizing, but Dane knows that he was about to go anyway. Billy thanks Dane, who is surprised that he knows who he is, telling him that he will see him around. Raven thinks that Billy should get to know him a bit more, but the boy doesn't have the time since he's preoccupied with his failing powers and he hasn't really made any friends. Raven knows that he saw it again, and Billy confirms he saw the Rock of Eternity exploding at the Statue of Liberty, and that's why he lost his strength. Raven doesn't know what's happening, so they'll figure it out, as she asks Billy to show her what he saw, so they connect their minds, as Billy says that he didn't mean to bother her, but he can't reach the wizard. Raven asks about his family, but Billy knows that Mary and Freddy have been calling a lot, but he hasn't felt like talking. Raven tells him to focus, as later on, Billy checks the multiple texts Freddy has sent him, wanting him to call. He bumps into Brick, who tells him to watch where he's going, but Billy apologizes, but then corrects himself, saying he's not sorry since he was looking at his phone and who cares. Boy tells him to go to hell, as more students tell Brick to watch himself. Starfire comes by, ordering Billy to come to her office immediately. In the office, Starfire tells Billy that she doesn't care who started all of this, but he should have ended it. She knows with his young age and powers, he already lived a life these young people can't imagine, but they need peers that they can look up to if they knew who he really is. Billy says he's really Billy Batson, and he's more than just a cape and a malfunctioning lightning bolt. Starfire knows he is, as news breaks of a LexCorp satellite falling from space towards the city. Starfire tells him to get back to his room, but Billy says the magic word, but nothing happens. He races out of the building as he continues saying the word, and eventually the powers work, allowing him to fly across the sky in front of the building briefly until they give out again, reverting him back to Billy, who falls towards the ground. Luckily, Superman arrives to save him, having stopped the satellite as well. Billy doesn't like the hero calling him kid, since Superman is younger than him, but John reminds him that he's not anymore, as the students below realize that Billy is Shazam. John asks the kids what he should do with the LexCorp satellite, wondering if he should dump it on LexCorp's roof. Billy heads back to his room, where he meets with Miguel Montez, asking the boy if he can borrow his H-dial. But Miguel says no, since it does weird things to people with powers, and he thought he was trying to lay low. Billy says that was his plan, but it didn't work, and the people now know he is Shazam. He thanks Miguel for keeping that quiet though, but now the whole school saw him in costume being rescued by Superman, which is one of the least humiliating things to happen to him that day. Miguel says that he would love to loan him the dial, but he can't since Billy has a visitor. He pushes Billy into the room and traps him inside with Mary, who says hi to the estranged foster brother of hers. She says they need to talk since he hasn't been replying to her or Freddy's texts. Billy asks if Freddy is okay, but Mary says he's not since he's been in hospital since last Tuesday, knowing this time it's bad. Billy knows it's his fault as he screams his magic word, showing Mary that nothing is happening since he cannot access his powers with any reliability, and he can't share it with Freddy or anyone else, wishing he could contact the wizard. Mary says that he needs to go and see him, but Billy doesn't know where the wizard is. Mary wasn't talking about the wizard, however, wanting him to go and see Freddy, but Billy wonders what he would even say to him, wondering if he should just apologize for not being able to give him the powers he needs to survive. Mary knows that Freddy just wants his best friend back, as Billy continues to try the magic word, but nothing works. Mary hugs the crying Billy, knowing that he knows what he has to do, telling him the doctors say Freddy has weeks, maybe even days left to live. Billy agrees to go and see him, but he's got to clear it with the teachers first. He wants her to tell Freddy that he'll see him tomorrow, one way or another, and that he is sorry that he doesn't know why this is happening. Mary wonders if Dr. Fate could help him, but Billy doesn't know where he is. Mary says that when she arrived, she saw him in the conference room with the other Titans, but they shut the door on her, wondering if he's there because this has something to do about his powers. Billy heads off to go and see him, as in the conference room, Dr. Fate tells the Titans that they have a problem since Justice League Dark has been monitoring a massive celestial event. Garfield thinks it's yet another crisis, not wanting to deal with it, and Cyborg agrees with him since he's useless in a crisis. But Dr. Fate says that this isn't a crisis level event yet, but it's temporal in nature and occurring in multiple locations through time and space. He says that something has been and will be ripping its way across space-time, wreaking no small amount of havoc. Since the Green Lantern Corps' power battery has been destroyed, the Speed Force barrier has been compromised, and now something is wrong with the Rock of Eternity, since it's been displaced from its position and thrown into hell. The Titans know that Billy saw flames in his visions and wonder if the rock's location will affect the power of Shazam. Dr. Fate is unsure, but knows that until the rock is replaced, Shazam and those who share his powers will be affected. But the rock is a symptom of a greater, mysterious problem. The Titans wish to work with Dr. Fate and the Justice League Dark to understand what is happening, but Nightwing knows they cannot tell Billy yet, since he's getting impatient and he'll want to go after the rock before he knows what they are really up against. Raven agrees, since barreling in headfirst guns blazing will get innocents and Billy himself killed, so they need to tell him when it's over. Billy heads back to his room after overhearing them, packing his bag as Miguel wonders if he really is considering going to hell, since the Titans and Justice League Dark are working on this, so he just needs to be a little bit patient. Billy says that he doesn't have the time for that, since he needs his powers back for Freddy. Miguel says that this is incredibly stupid of him and it would be dangerous for Shazam and more so for Billy Batson. Soon there is a knock at the door and Billy opens it to find Dane, who wants to help. Billy says he's fine on his own as Miguel asks how he even knows what's happening. Dane says there's no time to explain and they must go. Billy says that he's going alone since as long as the Rock of Eternity is in hell, his power is compromised and it puts people at risk, knowing he needs to somehow lift it back up into its rightful place at the center of the multiverse. Miguel knows that without his powers that's not very doable, but Billy wants to try and see what he can do with the H-dial. Miguel however won't lend him the device, but he will come with him with it, but Billy refuses to let him come. Dane says that there is more since he has his own reasons for wanting to go with the boy to hell, but they will explain it all later. But Billy just needs to trust him. Billy says he doesn't even know the boy, so Dane reintroduces himself, saying that he's Raven's star pupil and a friend, and Billy needs him and he needs Billy. He asks how Billy was planning on getting to the underworld, so Billy talks about how Wonder Woman used to mention a gateway beneath the Themyscira to hell, but Miguel knows that he can't just casually drop that he knows Wonder Woman. Dane knows that using Doom's doorway under Themyscira is an option, or he could just take them there, conjuring up a portal directly to hell for Billy to use.